are talking about some Star Wars fan theories. So, Scam. Mm-hmm. So I was watching The Force Awakens, and Rey and Finn are trying to escape Jakku, and they are heading towards the ship, and Rey's like, "That's the best ship," and it explodes. And then they have to go towards the Millennium Falcon, and she hops in that motherfucker. And the thing is like the other ship was like more sleek and slim. The Millennium Falcon is wide as shit, right? It's like wide, but she hops in it and she's immediately able to like do evasive maneuvers. She's threading the needle, outwitting all these other pilots. So I was wondering if there is some sort of autopilot in Star Wars?
There could be, but my bigger concern is how exactly did Rey, who from the way everything has been set up, is just an orphan hobo living on this planet and needing scrap metal and all these things. How does she know how to pilot a ship, period? Even if there was autopilot, how does she know where the autopilot button is on this ship?
Well, that's going to get into another one of our theories too, and that also adds to my point, because if she hasn't really flown anywhere, why does she know? Yeah, exactly. Why does she know how to pilot many different ships?
The more artistic and creative route problem with that is that the whole point of flying in Star Wars, like they mentioned that Anakin is this badass pilot who can fly anything and is just the greatest pilot ever, despite the fact that he crashes every single one of his ships. But he's still just a bitchin' pilot. It's a skill-based endeavor. So the idea that there would be autopilot involved in that would cheapen everything that's been set up in the story. So, of course, there is probably some autopilot in terms of, like, docking into a station or takeoff. Even in The Mandalorian, there's a portion of the story in one of the episodes where this Imperial freighter can't break a certain speed limit and has to follow flight rules while it's within a certain distance of the station, of that port. So, there's probably something like that. I mean, hell, we have auto park on Teslas right now. But when it comes to Star Wars and it comes to flying through those asteroid fields, it's definitely not autopilot. I think what actually happened is that there's really no deeper theory there. There's no deeper explanation. It's just that the writers didn't think that through. They didn't think through the fact that where did she get training? Because Luke was training for the military academy. They set that up. He had friends who went off to be pilots. He was planning on being a pilot. Rey has like nothing. But those outer rim planets like that, no one's just going to be like, "Hey kid, you want to use my simulator?" Like, you know, they're out there like 1/4 portioning it. Like they're not going to just give her the opportunity to practice. So how does she know? How does she know how to fly the Millennium Falcon? Let alone know how to bypass the compression.
That's the thing. If she's been doing it all her life, then I can understand that she has a somewhat understanding of like what goes where and what does this, and like what's the most important part.
But you don't know what does what, because you know in theory what that does, but she's probably never broken down a Millennium Falcon because we've never seen a Millennium Falcon anywhere. So how does she know how to bypass the compression?
And so we've also seen in other iterations of Star Wars a droid or something will just hop in the cabin. R2-D2 BB-8 kind of hops into the cabin, and they're like part of the mainframe now. So I wonder if that also adds to them being able to pilot and just because even if I go if I drive a fucking Honda Civic, a small ass like compact car, and then the next day I'm supposed to drive like a Escalade, I'm like, wow, where the fuck does this thing begin? Where does it feels like I'm driving. So the fact that she was expecting to go to a smaller ship and then go to the Millennium Falcon, it's like, how are you able to even judge the size of this thing? So I think we can agree that maybe there is some type of autopilot, but it's limited, and you do have to depend on like the skill of.
It is, because if it was autopilot helping them navigate through those asteroid fields, they wouldn't need their hands on the controls. They wouldn't. And also, that's boring as shit. Like, you need the tension of a human pilot who can make an error, and the tenseness, and you need it's impressive if they can navigate through that. Absolutely. If you can just hit the button, then there's no point.
Yeah. All right. So.